Welcome, everybody, to Call of Cthulhu Down Darker Trails in the late 20s episodes. For those in the future, you are now watching an audio and visual interpretation of events that happened in 1876 in a possible past, where the somewhat now known in this day and age, the Danger Six, is continuing on in their trials and tribulations after having first found a pair of strangers in the Gem Saloon that did some supernatural things, and they set off after them across the desert to the north of the town of Coldwater, encountering several, perhaps traps or at least encounters involving much gunfire and blood, um, possibly incurring a new potent enemy. They came across the Union Army, who were on their way to escorting a wagon train full of ghost rock to the fort of Dodge, which is just east of Dodge City, Kansas. And the Danger Six is now on the way with the cavalry, uh, about to come into the fort in a few more miles. Danger Six.
In case anyone noticed, Walt's having a more bug-eyed than normal moment. Is I'm reading through a note in my pocket, and you're never gonna guess who it just happened. Everyone gather around.
So Walt asks everybody else to kind of pull up their horses.
The horses,
Soldiers, not Corporal Perkins. Corporal Danger Six. Okay, I was just checking my pocket of my cool duster, and I found this note. It said, by the way, is it in handwriting or is it like a teletype or?
It is in beautiful cursive.
Oh, that makes it, that's even worse. Okay, I found this note in my pocket, and it said, which wasn't there earlier, I think. I had a hunch that your fellow warriors would want their products, so the vest and boots have been completed on spec. Come by anytime to get them. Additionally, I have a possible journey that your team could possibly take that could aid you in the long run, though I fear the journey itself might also be dangerous. That's when I go. Lastly, I believe congratulations are in order for you. I understand some of your stories have been picked up by the big papers. Woo-hoo. So apparently our friend at the boutique, shall we say, apparently because he made me this jacket, he has a psychic connection to me forever. I didn't realize that was part of what I was purchasing. But
can I see that?
Hand him the note. I've never seen his writing, but it's pretty obvious who we're talking.
Yeah, I read what he's reading.
Sure.
Yeah,
so
actually, can he read?
I'm pretty sure you can read. It is written in
Don't kill me.
Very immaculate cursive in a rich purple ink. Very fine paper stock. And I'll forward you the text if you like, or I'll forward everybody the text, I suppose.
Does it look absorbent?
Let's see.
I have a.
There we go.
I'm gonna take out on my saddlebag. I'm gonna stop and I'm gonna pull out. I guess we don't have pens per se, but I probably have. I'm gonna write a note on the back of it, and I'll write a note and I will send it to you when I compose it.
Okay. Did you roll for?
Yes, I actually rolled an 11. So.
Okay, you're rock solid then.
Yeah, but I was like, here's where I'm gonna blow. Here's where I'm gonna blow the sand check. Thank you so much for sending me over the edge.
For people that are here, why don't we do at least luck restoration? So for anybody who needs to do their
Oh,
luck
that would be
rolls,
good.
please proceed with that.
All right, so just before we do it, so you want to, if you make it, you get, if you roll under it or over it, it's kind of like no rolls, like the
Yeah,
like a
it,
skill.
it's like skill improvement. So you want to fail, and if you successfully fail in your luck, then your luck goes by 2d10 plus 10. If you succeed in your luck roll, then you improve 1d10 plus 5.
Woohoo! I failed.
And that's something I'm just sort of trusting everybody to keep track of. I don't want to keep track of that because it's too much accounting. Lord knows I got enough with just
Wow.
names.
I'm just gonna let you know I did really well. I'm quite happy.
Where have I put it now?
And if everybody were here, I'd also say let's go ahead and do a
Yeah, we should probably hold off on that.
a character boost up, but yeah, we're gonna have to hold off on that one.
Oh, there it is. Advanced Drag. There we go. Is that it? Yes. Do I need to even worry about? Chances of me failing this are slim to none. Son of a gun, I actually failed it. I have a 90. I rolled a 97,
Well, yeah, okay.
which means I'm now max.
Nice.
Yeah, until you're not.
Yeah,
You
until I'm
do
not.
badly. What's the name of the place we're at? Fort Dodge? Is that what it is?
You're approaching Fort Dodge.
Approaching Fort Dodge. With some dead things in a wagon.
And how far away from Dodge? Because I actually lived in Dodge. How far away from Dodge are we in terms of a ride? The city proper?
It's starting to get a little difficult to exactly know because, again, unfortunately, you don't have a map. But also, you've now been heading east. You are somewhat south of Dodge, and now you're heading east of Dodge. So in a way, you are now getting sort of further and further away from Dodge. Say the route you're taking is not optimal to get to the fort due to, say, the scouts have been reporting difficulty of tracking and such in certain chunks of land, which they have been pointing out to Edward, and Edward's been taking notes insofar as what landmarks he can see, and sort of beyond this point, when you get past there, things get a little wackadoodle kind of thing. So you're starting to map out what seems to be perhaps the northern crest of this disturbed area that is difficult to maintain one's bearings in due to peculiarities of the landscape.
Okay.
But you reckon if you wanted to get to Dodge, if you were like, screw the fort, let's head to Dodge right now, it'd probably be at this point perhaps you probably get there in less than 6 hours, which for horsebacking is not an unreasonable amount of time.
Say easy day trip.
Oh yeah.
Well, not both ways, but getting there.
But getting there is not bad. That way you can get the hell into Dodge.
All right, so we've got we're just staying with the did the guy want us to talk to Colonel Croker?
That was certainly your impression. Yes, you're under no obligation to, but
well, it's a dangerous stretch. It's a dangerous stretch. How long will it take? Does he estimate it'll take us to get back to the fort?
Steve, you're a little hard to hear.
Sorry.
We're approaching the fort. We should probably be there in about an hour.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, let's head to the fort, and then we'll figure out what we're gonna do next.
Besides, most of you are pretty banged up and could probably use a night of rest that isn't on the cold, hard ground.
That's true enough. It has been an absolutely exhausting day to be able to, you know, get some sleep without having to, watch over your shoulder. Would probably not be a bad thing. You did stop for food, but some food would be good too.
Good army food.
Hot army chow.
Well, if you're potentially dining with the colonel, it'll be
It's
of
going to be better.
better quality. Maybe not the best, but better at least.
All right.
Those are maple cured baked beans, not regular baked beans.
That's right. And there's actual pork in there.
Hey, bacon, fat, and beans on a campfire is pretty damn good.
I think you've had enough.
Let's give him the mongo.
Oh, don't
Yeah.
give me beans.
Well, I must admit, Larrabee, this is quite disturbing. Does that mean he can pick your pockets too? I wouldn't keep your money in that one.
I don't think I want him to have a psychic connection to me. I like my jacket, but anyway, you saw me writing, and I put the note back very deliberately back in my pocket.
Now, did you write on that piece of paper or on
I
just
sure did. I flipped it over and I wrote like in pencil what I wrote you.
And much less flowing script.
Now, actually, believe it or not, I have particularly
probably has good
I
handwriting.
have particularly good handwriting,
It's part of
penmanship.
his.
Did you
Because
have
I am a
guns to beat it
journalist.
into you?
But on a horse, you probably don't have the most
I
beautiful
said I
handwriting.
stopped. I said I stopped.
He stopped.
Oh.
I mean, it's not
Okay.
not beautiful, but I'm quite sure my my penmanship is well above average.
No.
Maybe not
Um,
this justified.
Dr. Gabriel, could you roll your arcane no, please?
All right. I'm ready. Let me see if I can shake yet another roll.
And Charles, if you want to, give it a try as well. Or
Holy
sorry,
crap.
Christopher, Charles.
Holy crap, I made it. Which with the 35 is not guaranteed. I got a 29, so I just barely made it.
It looks purple.
It looks purple, right? Okay, so, Doctor, in all those weird sort of mathematical and swirling images that you saw about a week and a half ago, due to the carousel sort of candle lamp thing, you've been noticing that it has imprinted just chunks of information in your head that you would otherwise just simply not have. And insofar as Walter writing on that piece of paper as a suggestion, you actually think that there is an arcanic means of communication, and the way for Walt to respond back would be now to burn the letter.
To have having written on it to burn it?
Yes, now he would burn it, and from your understanding of this particular form of arcanum that's occurring, a message would go back to the sender.
So don't ask Walter. Don't ask me why I just get the sense that if you want to respond to that message, that you should burn the note, the piece of paper, with whatever your message was, and that will help them to get it. You can certainly try it the way you've done it, but if that doesn't work, I would definitely light it up, and they should be able to get the message.
You know, I think Dr. Gabriel Trout is correct. I think I've seen this before, but you got to lay it across your junk and then light it on fire.
Hang it off like a flag.
Something to do with the emotional energy.
To quote Ron Burgundy, I don't believe you.
It's called crotch signaling.
Also, I know in your note, you can almost certainly expect a response of where exactly in Dodge.
I
But
thought
didn't the guy
I
say
could
he had
do
a-
it just
a-
now.
Oh wait, you have a place there.
Yes,
Right. So I assume you
I
gave
live
you gave an address or whatever.
there. Yeah, I'm sorry.
I think
Okay.
that Emporium also has a shop at Dodge, don't they? Didn't they say that? They've got a storefront in Dodge as well as Coldwater.
Okay.
Give me a no roll.
I believe that's what they told us. So,
Okay.
all right. Yeah, 14. If that's what they
Yes,
told us, that's...
you recall Gilmore saying that there is a Gilmore's Glorious Goods in Dodge.
Are you sure it's not Deblin?
Better than Dwayne Diddley.
Dwayne, Deblin.
Good reference to Red Dwarf. That one's obscure, dude. It's like
Well,
it's like
it is
2
bet-
episodes has
It is better than it is better than life.
Better than life, yeah. Have you been following the new ones at all?
I don't know. Every time I see them and they all like got they're like lined eyes, and I'm like,
You mean the new ones
Yeah,
like
well,
after
me
season
too.
10?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I haven't really watched them past.
Yeah, they're season 12 now.
Oh, wow.
They're gone past season 8 tops.
Season 12 was more of like they did as a movie kind of
Okay.
but still.
Arnold Judas
fine.
River. Judas is my middle name.
Okay, so what do you do with your fine letter there, if anything? Or are you just going to post it when you get to the fort?
No, I thought this would be our psychic connection. That's why I thought he would be able to get it.
Ah, okay. So
Yeah.
all right. So you basically just written on the paper. Dr. Trout suggested burn it, but you don't have to. I assume in the letter you actually said where your
Yes,
apartment
yes.
or rented room or house room. It probably wouldn't be a full house, right?
No. I just have I have a room in a boarding house, which is a room/office kind of thing. It's like a
Right.
one room fits all. Because I don't have a lot of money, but maybe I will if my stories keep getting picked up. So yeah, I'll try that, and if I don't get any response, I guess I can always try burning it in when we get to the fort.
Okay.
Is we could fill it with some fine tobacco. Make a little
good paper.
cigarette out of it.
Okay, so you continue to ride, and is there any other further business that anybody would like to do while riding? Edward definitely says that he would also like to get to Dodge. He thinks that access to a larger frame of research material, which definitely Dodge has, he thinks that he might be able to at least give a shot at looking up any sort of references or anything to stone monuments, obelisks, and such like that, and see if something like that has been mentioned in the paper archives or anything along those lines.
No, I think that we should continue into Dodge probably in the morning. Take shelter with the army tonight. And then in the morning we can strike out and go to Dodge. You all... I think I'm the only one in the party that didn't take damage.
I can shoot you in the ass too if you'd like. I don't want you to feel left out, right?
I don't think Gustav managed to get hit.
Christopher's like, that's not funny. Too soon.
I thought Gustav also got thrown at some point.
Oh, he might have. So, you ride on for another half an hour or so.
Hey, Vance, you remember the two gentlemen when we mentioned a certain name? When do you want to talk to them? I think I figured out who they are.
Interesting. Well, probably as soon as possible.
I think that's something we can probably do while we're riding on.
All right.
So I will. The last part we said was that Chris Duval was the one who laughed, and Sergeant Jackson was the one who did the slapping. I think I'm more interested in perhaps dividing and conquering. I can take Duval if you want to take the good sergeant.
All right.
Let's see, are they currently writing next to each other in column, or how are they arranged?
You see Sergeant Jackson. You do not see Duval. Now, Jackson was a sergeant, and Duval was a corporal. So it could very well be corporals out on thinned out scout duty. This even though they're close to the fort, they're still maintaining a arranging party of scouts further about, just making sure no trouble comes.
Well, with that being said, I don't see Duval. You want to proverbially gang up on the good sergeant?
Yeah, we can both ride up to him and chat him up.
Let's do that.
All right. Duval's not riding necessarily alone right now. Nobody's really riding alone except for probably the scouts, right? Various other, mostly privates and such, are kind of milling it. When I say milling about on their horses, right? Some are leading additional horses because more riders were lost than horses, evidently, in whatever encounter they may have had before encountering Father. And when they encountered the Father, the horses had the sense to run. So
it didn't eat all the horses.
Didn't get all of them. So there's, and to be honest, back then, horse flesh is worth
more than human.
From a soldier's kind of point of view,
depends on the soldier.
Certainly, replacing a trained horse is a lot more difficult than replacing a somewhat trained, especially like a private or something. It's just a harsh fact of war. But anyway, so you come up close to the sergeant.
It's evening, right?
Oh yes, yeah. It's dark outside now.
Evening, Sergeant. Mind if my friend and I, Vance here, have a moment of your time?
Not at all. Come on up. Not a southern accent.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I'm doing a poor accent that I probably shouldn't be doing.
Sorry,
I just drop into it.
Yeah, just sort of a westerny accent, right?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Pepperidge Farm remembers.
That's right.
Pepperidge Farm remembers in the Old West, you could be eaten by a werewolf.
Park your horse in the yard.
Over yonder. That's it. Never mind. We're insulting people's cultural
background.
No, we're just having a little bit of fun.
That's right.
Well, Sergeant, a while ago, I couldn't help but notice that you had a particular reaction when you overheard a particular name, that name being Montclair. Any reason you slapped that soldier for laughing?
Well, you probably hear some scuttlebutt about this when we get to the fort anyway. It's not so much about the Montclairs. It's more, he kind of leans over to you. It's more about Sadie than anything else.
Sadie. Name's not. Yeah. I have to say, the name isn't familiar to me.
What can I have for?
Computer, stop. Sorry, my echo went off.
It's Croker's wife. She's been spending a little bit too much time with Montclair.
Really now?
Scandalous.
Actually, that makes a second one.
I'm sorry, could you repeat whose wife it was? I didn't hear it due to my echo going off.
Croker,
Croker?
the Colonel.
Colonel,
Oh, Colonel.
go to the top.
Now that is interesting and unfortunate.
Little word to the wise. You might want to tell your doctor friend. Which, don't get me wrong, we're always happy to have another doctor around at any points or times. But she might come a knocking on the doctor's door for a little bit of headache medicine.
Laudanum?
Yeah, it's pretty clear. Personally, think that's what she's getting from Montclair. Kind of double dipping, triple dipping. Gets a little bit from Montclair, gets a little bit from the doctors. You know, a little bit here, a little bit there. All of a sudden, she's, you know, swigging a bottle a day of it. Now, mind you, a bottle's like, you know, this big. But
Yeah, they're small.
Yeah, but we're talking opium, so
yeah.
How long has this been going on?
Well, give me a persuasion roll, please. Or any other role that you think would be appropriate. I'll put it that way.
I'll do a persuade.
I was about to say, I've got
Oh,
intimidate,
okay.
but that's not what I want to do.
I'm not really-
Critical
You're going to
success.
tell us.
I'm sorry, one more time.
Critical success.
Wow. Okay. All right. Very good. Very good. Make sure you check that one. Well, personally, I think that her headache problem has been around for quite a while. At least since we've been posted here. But now, it was about 2 months after we were posted here, so about 6 months ago. Now, her method of spending her free time in situations that, well, frankly, I can't believe that the Colonel hasn't done something about it. I mean, he must be denying things, but, well, that's maybe been, couldn't be more than 2 months.
Now, kind of leaning a little over. How do you know that? Does a buggy come and pick her up, or has she been seen over at a Montclair ranch?
Well, she gets, you know, she's allowed to go into town, of course, you know, pick up whatever, you know, she's got money and she has some connections to the town of Coldwater. But you know, nobody's going to say no, if you will, to the Colonel's wife. So if the Colonel's wife tells you to go cool your spurs in the local bar for a couple hours, who's going to say no to that? You walk off and cool your spurs for a while.
Ah, understood. All right, so it's not like it was in Coldwater.
Well, no, although
Oh, I say that more over to Barnett than to the sergeant.
I've got some ideas, but I don't think we need to trouble the good sergeant here with it. Is there, other than the issue, the headache issue, anything else strange you've noticed going on with her? I don't know if you're in a position to know, but anything else you might have noticed would be appreciated.
Well, I'll admit, I mean, that headache medicines can do a number on anybody over prolonged periods of time. But
Yeah.
she's been looking odd last, call it 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks. Just different, not necessarily sickly, but just
Weaker,
weaker.
drained,
Uh,
drawn out,
weaker, yeah, but
fatigued.
in some ways, well, a man hates to admit this kind of thing, but scarier.
Hmm.
And I don't know what it is exactly, but I'll tell you, when I see her crossing my way, I get the fuck out of the way.
Hmm.
At this point, you hear some additional horse coming up kind of behind you.
Look
See
over
who
the
it
shoulder.
is.
Looking over to the back there,
Hand
you
on hip.
see, you see Corporal Emerson, and literally in his on his saddle, on his legs, you see the little girl Sky.
Well, from a former sergeant to a current sergeant, I appreciate the talk. If you ever want to talk about anything, please feel free to look me up.
Well, I appreciate it. Well, and you're camp out in the Coldwater right now, right?
Correct.
Very good. Well, thank you, sir.
Hmm.
Or thank you, Sergeant. He'd note to say
Yeah.
Sergeant.
Yeah.
If the other sergeant and the little girl are riding past, are they hurrying up ahead of us?
No, they actually almost kind of run parallel to you all. At this point, the speed of the overall wagon train has seemingly kind of slowed down a little bit. A little bit of the tension seems to be, leaving the overall wagon train, the sense of familiarity, and just, hey, not having to sleep on the ground would be nice. It's probably going through most of the soldiers' minds. And Emerson kind of comes up and he looks over to you two and says, "All right, little lady, she whispered to me. She has words for you."
Well, I'd be glad to hear
Tip my hat,
them.
darling.
She, one second here. She looks you, she smiles nicely, then the smile goes almost totally away. Roll a
Demolitions.
how odd would that be?
Survival.
Give me an intelligence roll, or idea roll, basically.
Hard success.
All right. While she's talking, she seems to be talking directly to Vance, but Christopher, I'll send you a quick note here. And boy, did I misspell that. You'll figure out what I mean by that. I misspelled it, but you'll figure it out.
Got it.
But yeah, she looks at you, Vance, in a very, I don't want to say non-emotional, but a serious face, which looks really weird on this young of a child.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it's deadpan serious face. And she says, an old adversary's protege has one of the six and has been informed about yours by the practitioners. The old world wants you to succeed, but the new world does not. He will come, and when he does, he will have the strength of a cannon.
Oh boy.
And then she smiles and says, your breath smells funny.
So there was one revelation and one thing we all already knew. Yes.
Whiskey is not a mouthwash.
Well, it's whiskey and cigarettes. Thank you very much.
And whiskey, cigarettes, and bacon. The trifecta.
I'm guessing she means one of my old adversaries.
Don't know.
We don't have that many adversaries.
Speak for yourself.
Well, we as a group don't have that many adversaries.
Yeah, but we have a couple bad ones.
Yeah, well, yeah.
We make up for quantity with quality of adversaries.
Why, thank you, darling.
She nods. No problem. And I'm sorry for your coming loss. At which point she turns around and Emerson rides off with her back to the pack of people he was with before.
Coming loss. To look back at Barrett. You feeling all right?
Been better, but I don't on that type of door. I will admit she is an adorable child, but she is a strange one. You notice that her features are perfectly symmetrical?
You had not noticed that.
Staring at
No,
that girl
no,
a little too much.
Hadn't noticed.
But anyway, I suggest that we ride up with the others. I think I need to talk to the doctor.
Yes, yes, indeed.
And I think that unfortunately the colonel's wife is something we're going to have to watch out for. It does seem to, my reckoning is that there's something going on at the Montclair Ranch, and it's also suspected it has to do with those two individuals that we were chasing are part of that.
Indeed. Let's ride up to the others that are here.
Yeah.
Yeah, Gustav and Ed just seem very contemplative right now.
It's
kind
like
of sleeping
they're not all there.
Well, they're having a discussion between the two of them.
Yeah.
They're arguing on the trail.
Gilligan's Island episode had the most moral conundrums.
We'll ride up. Gentlemen,
Yeah, Doc, quick word with you. What do you know of the colonel's wife?
I believe I met her when I called on the colonel.
Yes, briefly, she brought in probably some cordials or something like that, but that was about it.
She seemed polite enough, but not particularly memorable.
So you remember
Vance, you do recall something about her, though. Something Al Swearinger told you?
right? That she had been running with.
She was one of the Desert Flowers early on in the jam.
That's
Oh, goddamn, that's right.
yeah. So I don't know if you remember, Doc, when we were first gathering, when we mentioned the word. I'm trying to keep this low so no one else around can hear it. Is
We can draw it
the word
3 paces off.
Montclair, we heard a laugh and a slap. Well, we found out who at least did the slapping. I haven't talked to the corporal who did the laughing, but he
Probably
relayed.
get the same message.
Yeah. He relayed that the colonel's wife is, let's say, spending more time with Montclair than with the good colonel. Well, that's potential problem number one. Potential problem number two is it sounds like from his description, and while I'm not a medic, I've heard it before, she's a laudanum addict. So I wonder if she might approach you for some and just he said to give you a word of warning that this might happen. And the other oddity is that in the past couple of weeks, he swears that she has gotten scarier. Now, with everything that we've heard about or suspect about the Montclair, the two beings, whatever we want to call them, running there, I don't know if you can get an excuse to get an exam for her, but I'd be interested in your personal opinion of what might be going on with this lady, and potentially, I don't know about y'all, I'm not really comfortable with a potential, let's say, political player, someone who is trying to expand his influence, banding about influencing the wife of the colonel of the army detachment in this area. It doesn't sound, kosher to me.
Well, the problem is if he's the colonel, it just seems like what you're presenting, Christopher, is a whole series of pitfalls.
I couldn't agree more.
Again, there's so much going on. And I think probably once we sort out the Black Riders, I would think that the Montclairs would be the next thing that we would want to sort of addressing. The problem is, I don't think we don't have the strength to take on the Montclairs.
Yeah, not right now, but I suspect where they were going before everything happened, that's where the Black Riders were headed. I think
we'll have to take a look. I mean, so we're gonna, when we get to the Dodge City, we definitely need to get a good map.
How we take on Montclairs? We take them down in the press.
The court of public opinion.
That can't help.
That's my, by the way, that's my original bio is, Walt lives for uncovering.
Walt Larrabee.
So the problem is that's soft power. That's soft power, and they've got direct
politicians.
That is certainly a way to, but they're very powerful individuals. They just won a big contract with the Army, which maybe coincidence, maybe not.
It's me.
Supply Fort Dodge, right? That was the So whether there was shenanigans or hanky panky, I mean, corruption is nothing new. You all were in the war. Favoritism. Again, so you're right, Walter. You could definitely bring him. You could definitely reduce public opinion of him. Then he'll just come and kill you, maybe. Some drunk will come and shoot you in the middle of the night, and that drunk will be employed by the Montclairs and do it intentionally. So, I just think we just need to be very careful.
Well, gentlemen, that's a small issue when we're at the fort, but we're only going to be there overnight. The bigger problem is the little girl came up and let me know something.
So you see me visually go, what did she say?
Well,
Vance, I imagine she didn't say anything innocuous and unimportant.
Yeah, it was a little disturbing. She informed me that one of my or our old adversaries has one of the 6.
Old adversary's protege.
Old adversary protege has one of the 6. Now, that kind of worries me because I'm wondering if it's a protege, meaning the son of a former gunslinger or something that I've put down. And one of the 6, I believe we all know what that could be.
Let's spell that out.
Talking about one of those hell guns.
Yes. The one that I look back at Gustav, I'm thinking that if he had on him right now, I would feel a little bit more secure. But she mentioned that it packs the power of a cannon.
Edward speaks up and goes, "Yeah, that was the description of one of the guns. Was fires with the fury of a cannon."
Yeah. Then before she parted, she said, "I'm sorry for your coming loss." So, don't know what she foresaw, but tighten your belts and keep your head spinning.
Let me just be the first one to say, Walter, I'm really going to miss you. While you're still here, I just want to point that out, that I've enjoyed our time together, and I'll greatly miss you when you're gone.
Now, as a side note to Vance, did you not want to relate the more fuller details of what Sky told you, or do you just not recall it, or there was a little bit more? The little kid.
About Dr. Trotsky.
No, I don't remember it all. I just remember her saying the old adversary as one of the 6. Oh, the old world order wants us to succeed, while the new world order wants to stop us.
That sounds like being between the hammer and the anvil. That doesn't sound like a good position. So might be a good story.
Vance, give me a no roll, please.
No roll. See if I remember it correctly. 06.
06. Okay.
I was saying.
Right. So first of all, again, it's adversary's protege, and second of all, that protege has been informed about yours by the Perditioners.
Informed by the Perditioners.
Perditioners? Like perdition hell?
Yeah. She's a little kid.
Anyone have an idea what the Perditioners are? Is that a
Anybody
government agency?
Anybody who has an Arcanum roll may roll for Arcanum.
Good Lord. There's just a world of things I really don't want to know about. This is just... Oh, no. I've never heard of that.
I am going to spend the 5 luck points to make it a success.
Okay. Do recall that if you spend luck to succeed in a skill, you do not get to check off that skill as a.
I already checked it off once, so I'm good.
Okay. Yeah. Fair enough.
Real quick question for you: was it the old world order wants us to succeed, and the new world order wants what, to stop us or for us to fail? There's a difference.
With my 06.
The old world wants you to succeed. The new world does not. Okay, so the new world does not want you to succeed.
Okay, but that's different than actively working against us.
Correct. And of course, it is very open to interpretation insofar as to succeed in what?
I speak Greek, Latin, English, but I don't speak creepy girl. So some of the nuances are lost on me.
You're not even necessarily sure what she's in reference to on succeeding and failing in. The Perditioners, right. In effect, it is another world or another word for what some would call the 4 Riders of the Apocalypse.
Well, that always makes me feel good.
According to your knowledge, there's more than 4. There's sort of a cabal of them, so it's not just war, disease, pestilence, and strife, I think.
There's also puberty.
But in effect, they are the movers of bad things that are one of sort of like the core underpinnings of like the super bad things that can happen when you goof around with some of this new magical stuff. Like, if you have ultimate terrible failures, right? The big mad scientists are using a whole bunch of ghost rock and they do a horrible experiment that goes horribly wrong. It's the practitioners that take care of them. It's also the practitioners that, in theory, promote the use of ghost rock in a way. Or promoters of the change. It's rumored had it that one of the practitioners caused the great strife, which caused the earthquake that slopped off a third of California into the ocean.
I will relay that information.
Honestly, if they knew what was going to happen to California, it's probably a good thing. Just
Well, I think back to about a year ago when I had the chance to ride on to another town and I decided to stick around Coldwater.
Should have kept riding. No.
There are days I think I probably should have just pulled on out. But hell, we're here now.
Speaking of which, you pretty much have now pulled up to the relatively, at this point, not very busy gates of Fort Dodge. It is a wooden palisade style fort. You've seen it in 100 cowboy and western style movies. No drawbridge or anything, but fairly stout gates, and your sort of standard telephone pole style walls with little pointy tops to them. There are observation points on the corners and above the gate, and you can see on the longer spans. So it's more rectangular in shape. On the longer spans, there are observation points mid-span of the longer of the two sides. You're coming into one set of gates. There's probably other entrances and exits. And probably equally guarded. You see guards with lanterns, very low light, and the guards are standing in front of the lanterns. So their backs are illuminated, their faces are not illuminated. And you do notice that each tower that at least you can see has a full Gatling gun.
Damn. All right. The wagon that is bringing the wolf thing.
Yeah.
Are they going to take that into the fort, or were they going to leave it out?
There seemed to be no intention for them to be stopping. They're starting to queue to go through the entrance. You hear appropriate calls and counterbacks from the captain up to the guardhouses, open the gates, blah, 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 returning with this, that, and the other. Please inform Colonel Croker that we've arrived. We've had casualties. Please rouse the doctor. They mention his name, which I've written down. I just can't find it real quick while I'm talking. Mallon. Inform Dr. Mallon. And you hear counter commands being shouted down to the fort below, and activity is starting. Extra lights or lanterns and such are being lit. Gates opened, carts and horse and such. And you notice most of the scouts have come back into formation at this point.
I figure it's their fort. They can bring it in if they want to, just as long as it's on the other side of the encampment from me.
Few minutes, and most of the wagons and such are pulled in. Priority to the wagons were largely given, just probably for maneuvering and space requirements more than anything else. And then the rest of the cavalry unit starts filing in, and Captain Horner, or actually Corporal Bird, swings by and finds you all. You recall Corporal Bird being Horner's adjunct, basically. He carries around the little mini maps and stuff like that. And he says, please follow me.
I will gingerly get off my horse.
Oh no, there's still, you'll
mounted?
ride in. Yeah.
I got it. I thought we'd already ridden yet.
And you get inside, and again, there are water troughs. There's clearly a large bay for horses. You see, areas that certainly those with military backgrounds you clearly recognize. That's storage. That's going to be where munitions are. It's a little bit further apart, kind of thing, than everything else. There's the mess hall, and you tell the kitchen chimneys are different than just sort of the warming chimneys and such. You can kind of clearly see, and that's where the colonel lives, and those are where the two captains live, because it's just kind of obvious. It's a fairly well-established fort. So the housing for the officers, they're at this point houses. They're not sort of quickly put together barracks or anything along those lines. Indeed, the houses look, they're painted, nicely painted. They're not just whitewashed. There's flowers and such like that. What you would take is probably the colonel's house. Even has a small garden next to it. Garden, and it's hard to tell because it's dark outside, but so this is a well-established fort. This fort's been here for about 45 years. It started, and it has grown and refined over the last 45 years. You can even see where perhaps there's old post lines that have been kind of packed in, where the fort's been expanded a couple times since original establishment. And things seem to be working relatively clockwork. Again, activity insofar as reporting who is now considered wounded casualties in action, and all that kind of military stuff going on. Won't really dig too deep into that. And Bird asks you to just, there's a trough over there. You can off your horses, etc., etc. Tend to your horses. We'll talk to the stableman to put your horses on the night. Make sure they get a good brush down and feeding. That sort of stuff. That's prominent in your all's mind. Your horses are very important to all of you all, insofar as a means of transportation and such. But anyway, so all that stuff takes a little bit of time. Is there anything that you all would like to do before you are probably summoned to go talk to the colonel?
changed my rent clothing.
You mean
Probably
your
not a half bad idea.
blood-stained?
I'm going to try to mentally map out every entrance or exit to this fort that I can see, as well as try to determine where they're going to put the covered wagons that we assume are full of ghost rock, and where they're going to put the dead werewolf.
Right. Okay. Entrances and such. The primary ones are pretty easy to figure out because there's guard posts
Huge.
above them.
Yeah.
If there are smaller ones, you probably have to walk the perimeter. But if you're quote unquote killing time, that's probably one of the few things there is actually to do in a fort like this. Is to
walk and smoke.
Yeah, light up a little cigarello and walk out the saddle sore kind of thing.
Rubbing my legs as I walk.
Knocking off the dust a little bit, and such like that. Okay, so you go do a walking. It's going to take you a bit of time because it's not a straight perimeter. Some buildings are right up against the wood, so you kind of have to kind of go around the primary wood wall. There's this isn't built like a castle. There's not like an internal inflates or anything along those lines. There's not a moat. There's not there's no caissons. There's nothing along those lines really.
Do they have artillery, like an artillery park?
Yes.
Former artillery officer. Just curious. Probably have a small, I guess, horse battery, either 2 4-gun sections or a 6-gun platoon. Or like the little 12-pound howitzers.
Yeah, it's 6.
6. Yeah, 6. There's probably an artillery lieutenant here. Good to know.
Yes, there is. You haven't met him yet, so I can't tell you what his name is. But yes, there is.
But I figured there probably would be an artillery lieutenant. All right, inconsequential aside. Okay, so just to get back to the strange colonel's wife, we're not gonna get in the middle of all that, are we?
Just observe would be my recommendation.
Yeah, we don't. This reminds me of the movie Appaloosa.
Vance, before you head off, Edward asks if he can go along with just.
Sure.
Yeah.
Let's walk our stiffness out.
Yeah, remember he likes to do mapping too. So. But yeah. There's artillery, 6-gun. Let's see here. A fair amount of foot soldiers, and a relatively speaking smallish, now slightly smaller, cavalry detachment.
They became detached.
Right. And as I say, if I have some of the numbers and such off, well, this is an alternative world, damn it.
No, I do want to do is I want to find out if anyone has one of the local big papers.
Well, the local papers? Sure. Well, I mean, there's almost one place you can be guaranteed to find some papers.
Yeah,
newspapers. Yeah.
I don't know if I want to be trolling the but maybe the orderly's off. That's probably orderly's office leads to the colonel's office. So I'll see if anyone's actually reading the paper.
Okay. Give me a scan roll. Or dumb luck. Your choice.
With that roll, 94 ain't gonna do it.
No, that's not gonna do it at all.
This is an illiterate camp. There's nobody here to read. It's crazy.
Let's see here. I guess Gustav will sort of hang out with the horses. Kind of keep an eye on things. Just not that you all have anything. Not like an old D&D terms where you have some magical items that you'd be worried that somebody, that a steward might try to steal or something. But you have some valuables. You want to make sure that they are properly secured and such when the horses are taken in for feeding and such. Um, Doctor or Christopher, is there anything specifically you'd like to do before?
As I said, I need to change my clothes.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and you probably inquire. Is there? Would you want any of your other clothes? Well, there's not really a laundry. I mean, there's a laundry service, yes, but you probably just swap out the clothes. But somebody brings you to somewhere private where you
Yeah.
can change and you'll find a um, not a bedpan, a wash dish
Wash
pan,
basin.
wash basin. There you go.
We could ask one of the soldiers: Are there any local women or wives that do laundry and can mend clothing?
This ain't mendable.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of the clothing is.
Are you talking about those little buckshot holes in your back? That's
And the giant rent in the front.
Right. The giant, huge claw marky tears in the front. Yeah. There's somebody says, well, yeah, the colonel and the two captains are married, but I'm not too sure they.
Well, somebody around here there's a camp follower that does laundry and mending and crap like that.
Yeah, there's a couple ladies that do come by. It's it's
All right,
it's
never
almost midnight bell though, so
mind. That's fine. No worries.
um
We're not gonna be here that long.
right. Vance and from now myself Ed. So we're doing some walking. Let me pull up Edward's sheet here.
If I remember correctly, Ed got bit, right?
As did Chris.
Yeah. I'm gonna ask Ed how his bite's healing.
Yeah, he kind of looks at it and says, "Well, the doc looked at it. I don't know. It's still a little beat up. Definitely sore, bruising. He doesn't seem particularly wacky or anything.
I guess as long as it doesn't get infected.
As you're going across one area, though, Ed stops and says, "Do you hear that?" And he kind of motions and with his head and kind of. You guys are up against the outer wall, and there's sort of a large building kind of in front of you. There's no windows or anything, but inside you hear what you first kind of wrote off. Oh, actually, give me a listen roll.
11
Vance.
out of 75.
Okay, that's a very good listen roll.
Yeah.
Yeah. At first you didn't take it for anything other than maybe sort of a blacksmith. I'm sure there's probably a blacksmith constantly working on horse shodding and such like that. But it's more than one smither, whatever going on, and you hear sort of metallic metalworking sounds that are unfamiliar to you. More for lack of a better term, mechanically driven. More advanced than you suddenly get kind of a mental picture perhaps of, boy, that almost sounds like what it must sound like where they build steam trains.
Let's check that out.
Give me a scan roll.
Is the Army getting that kind of equipment nowadays? Wow. Yeah, it's definitely scanned. Yes, and it's a critical.
Okay. You notice
Goddamn.
a man in a lieutenant's garb sort of furtively look to the left and to the right and kind of comes up to the door of this building where the sort of advanced mechanical clankings are going on. You see him give a particular knock. Not quite shaving a haircut, but it's clearly a syncopated kind of knock, 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 knock kind of thing. And then he's led into this building.
Well, do we go over and give the same give the same knock, or do we just get closer to take a look around the building, see if we can see anything through a crevice or a crack?
Edward shrugs and says, I kind of doubt they're going to have any windows, but yeah, maybe, I don't know, through a keyhole or something, maybe?
Maybe we can feel a vibration or something through the building to get an idea of how big this thing is.
Okay. Ed kind of goes, the way that army dude, and you quickly correct him and say, Lieutenant. He goes, okay, Lieutenant. Approach that door. Perhaps we ought to try to stick to the shadows as much as we can.
Sounds smart. Are you any good?
No?
Oh, joy. All right, we'll try to follow my lead. Check your boots for rattlesnakes right now.
Clown horns. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, 18 out of 68, which is a hard success.
And I rolled no 6 for Ed. So
Damn.
you guys are actually doing very well. So you managed to case out the place a little bit. Turns out there was about a 1-foot gap between the back of the wall and the wooden palisade. And you both managed to, without making any noise, even kind of squeak along there, as opposed to kind of blatantly going around the front section of it. But you eventually determined that this is a pretty goddamn big, we'll call it a building as opposed to a single room, because you're not sure what's on the inside. But it's a solid 50 feet long and like 40 feet deep. Beside the one door that you saw the lieutenant come through, there is a sort of a gatehouse style entryway, something that could allow in,
Larger vehicles.
several horses or wagons, that kind of thing. And then on the sort of the far side from where you were approaching, there is another side door, and it does have some windows, but the windows seem to be obscured by, it looks like some really just a newspaper. Matter of fact, as you kind of look at it, it does say the Kansas City Dodge Gazette. It's been, in effect, sort of plastered up against the window. Only one sheet, and it's kind of flapping about a little bit. You definitely see the light inside. It's sort of a yellow color, but it brightens up and dims down and brightens up and dims down. You also notice that there's more smoke coming out of the there's a smoke stack, whatever, coming out of the top. It is sooty black, indicating probably coal or something along those lines. And through the sort of almost flapping of this paper, you do catch a little bit of what's going on. There appear to be several people. It does appear to be, in effect, one large room. The inside looks like, though it's been clad in wood clapboard, the inside structures actually looks like it's bolted metal framing holding it up, which is allowing sort of your maximum internal space. And you catch a glimpse of what's clearly a forge of some sort, but it's a fairly large forge, which you kind of go, well, that's kind of odd. They wouldn't be casting their own cannonball or anything. That'd be just coming in supply via train, from an industrial area, whether it be Far East or just down from Chicago or something along those lines. So this seems a bit more beefed up than what you'd typically expect. And a fair amount of steam occasionally kind of billowing, obscuring sort of the whole view, even when the paper is kind of open. It's just, a wall of steam. So it's clearly not just forge work going on. Um, that's about all you get insofar as kind of clandestinely looking in. There's well, I guess keyhole. Does that really work? Looking through keyholes? I've never really thought
Not
about.
not at this day, not where we are. Older locks, yes, probably the locks they have now are actually more cord and all that. So I
Yeah,
wouldn't say.
yeah, they wouldn't be. Yeah, so I don't think that's going to do you much good. Give me a dumb luck roll, Vance.
Oh wow, 13. Damn. So actually that's a hard success because I have a 33.
So you're dumb lucky.
I'm dumb lucky.
So it does turn out though that the door that you're at is not particularly square, and so you get all the way down to the bottom, and there's a fairly decent crack at the bottom of the door. They just haven't repaired it recently. And again, it kind of takes a little bit of time for your eyes to kind of adjust to kind of the weird view and such like that. But yeah, there's 4 people in there. It's not necessarily an empty room. There are lots of crates and such like that. But they are working on something. Say you're getting like a peculiar angle, and at first it strikes you as a large metal box, elongated box that has wheels mounted to it all over the place. It doesn't really make any sense to you. There are wheels mounted almost on the very top of the box and the bottom of the box. And then off to the side, hanging up on large iron hooks, you see what appears to be 2 large strips of metal that perhaps would maybe go around a really large metal barrel of some sort. You're not really sure what they are. The wheels are also out of the big metal box and such. All the wheels are metal, which is peculiar. Except for there are some large holes, square holes cut out of it, and off to the side you see what almost appears to be, again, half barrels, like large cast barrels that have been cut in half. And those half barrels, instead of again being made out of oak or wood of some sort, they are made out of bands of metal again. Oh, and you see 2 Gatling guns have been partially taken apart and are on the ground in various pieces.
Huh. I have no idea what they're doing in there, but it's got to be something militaristic. Or they're building a heck of a train addition. Something I've never seen before.
You did not notice any train tracks going into this portion. Matter of fact, there's no train tracks on the grounds at all going into the fort. So if they were building
Metal
train
wheels,
unit,
metal unit,
they'd have to moving it would be a bitch.
Moving this big beast on metal wheels is going to be a.
Right.
This is the weirdest thing I've ever seen. Well, not the weirdest thing,
Not the weirdest thing.
but it's definitely weird.
At this point, Christopher, you're done changing your clothes. Walt, you haven't really found any decent newspapers and such, but you've milled around a little bit. Well, I need to know from you, Vance. You've spent a couple minutes here. Are you going to do anything
move.
further about this, or are you going to kind of try to finish your order somewhat quickly, or are you just going to kind of head back?
It'll probably be better for us to keep going. If we ever wanted to check this out later, I would probably want to keep an eye on the door to see who comes in and out, to know how they're dressed. And that way, well, if we get that kind of an outfit,
Okay.
then we could probably slip in.
All right, you continue on your pacing along the side. It's going to take several more minutes to finish the swing around the fort. But at this point, a somewhat tired-looking Corporal Bird kind of comes back to Christopher, kind of where you were kind of pointed to for the changing of clothes, and Doctor, you were kind of hanging around there. Walt, you kind of walked off a little bit to try to find newspapers and such with absolutely no luck. The corporal kind of comes in and just kind of clears his throat.
Colonel ready to see us?
Yes. I think he was kind of hoping to see everybody, but
All right,
well,
we'll round up our friends and be ready in 5 minutes.
5 minutes, very good. And he points over to the building, which you all mostly already summarized, and indeed, Dr. Trout, you just simply recall as the billings for the colonel.
You can phrase his name, like so and so, something commanding, right on
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Data, very obvious little building.
So the
We've seen the movies.
Yeah. Bird kind of trots off and
Birdie house.
and okay, 5 minutes, very good. And walks off.
All right, let's go find our friends and head out. Head over to the commander's house.
Okay. You track down Gustav easily enough. He was just sort of hanging out by the horses, making sure they were fine, and he finds you all relatively quick, or you find him relatively quickly.
Hey, Jamie,
as far as
see where Vance went?
I know Ed said that he was going to tag along with Vance, but I don't know where Vance and Ed went. He kind of looks over to Christopher and says, I bet you can figure it out.
I probably could. I suspect he's somewhere out there.
Somewhere within
Not
the confines
too big
of the
of a
fort.
place to get lost in.
How good is your sense of smell?
Where is he? I think he's in a dark place emotionally. Oh no, not where is he emotionally. Where is he now?
Just where is he physically located? His coordinates, as it were.
All right, so we'll go find him and head over to the colonel's place as soon as we get all together.
By the way, did I ever did my note, since a little time has passed, that little note I wrote, did I get a response, or is it still playing?
You have not gotten any sort of response or new envelope in your pocket or anything along those lines.
Right,
There are little words on it called saying buffering.
I'm going to I'm gonna roll my own and smoke a little cigarillo and light it up.
All right, fair enough. Let's see here.
Beware the purple ink.
That's right.
Oh wait! Oh my God! I just probably did something bad now.
Understandably, it causes consumption.
Yes. I may or may not be suffering from consumption.
And erectile dysfunction, but you won't notice any difference.
And then my favorite Schoolhouse Rock was Conjunction Junction.
What's your function? Let's see. Okay. Doctor, give me a luck roll.
60. I think that works. Oh yeah, no problem.
Okay. Between you and Christopher and Walt smoking, you all kind of intercept Vance and Ed. Vance and Ed had been. You kind of find them walking, not necessarily heading back. It seemed that they were. Well, they had a pace in mind, but Vance, you got about maybe 2/3 around the whole fort. I guess maybe the front of the fort's probably not all that terribly interesting to you. You probably know that part anyway. So, but you find the rest of the Danger Six kind of flagging you down. Vance, Ed. You know, by the time
We'll
you're
be
done
with the
with
colonel.
your cigarello anyway.
Gents, be on your good behavior. Make sure you tip your hat to the missus if she's there.
True.
Don't send out any signals.
Ma'am?
Walt, give me a con roll, please.
That is not my whew,
That's
30.
the purple
I'm
ink.
okay. That is not my strong suit.
That is not your strong suit at all.
But I did happen to make that.
And you know the keeper. He wasn't thinking anything about that untoward about that purple ink until some dumbass mentioned it.
You smoked a magical piece of paper? You dumbass.
Not only did that, I rolled it myself.
That's right. Deliberately did it.
Get out of there, cat.
Let's hear. Okay, so everybody gets together and heads over to the colonel's billet. And
That knocked most of the dust off.
yeah, you got most of it off. Let's see. The corporal sort of meets you at the front, and brings you in. You notice a butler, in classic sort of butlering garb, not the fanciest of which that perhaps you all have seen, but there does seem to be at least one in-house servant, or server, or whatever the appropriate PR term is.
So is this a military guy or like a civilian?
Be a civilian.
Okay, interesting.
And he just sort of nods and asks if he can take your coats.
Well, yes, of course.
And he takes them and he whips out a little brush and kind of gives them a little bit of a brush right there in the foyer as he starts hanging them nicely or whatever. And the corporal says, once jacket's been kind of gathered and such, says, if you will, please all follow me. And he takes you to a somewhat small back room. You go through, again, this is very much a nice house. This is not a military, this would be not where you'd have a war room kind of thing or whatever. But it does look like, he has a dining room, obviously, and you see the colonel there in the dining room. There are several seats. There's
We're not sitting in the parlor or the office.
no, food has been prepared for you all.
Oh, nice.
And he apologizes that his wife, Sadie, can't join with you. She's already retired. It is quite late in the evening, and I do apologize for the somewhat meager food. We I only found out of your coming. One of the scouts showed up about a half an hour before the primary group returned. But I had something prepared for you all.
Colonel, it's good to see you again.
Oh, Doctor, and he kind of snaps his finger. No, Tommy. Dr. Train.
Dr. Bass.
Very close, Dr. Gabriel Trout.
Dr.
Nice
Kerr.
to see you.
Dr.
Nice
Trout.
to see
Sorry
you.
about
After
that.
red herring.
Our group is out of Coldwater. I don't know if you remember it. Well, you're probably not familiar with us, but we ran into some trouble on the way, and were able to meet up with your convoy, and we're able to provide what little bit of help we could on our way back, and we appreciate their hospitality and their security. There's a lot of strange things going on nowadays.
Unfortunately, I do agree. Dr. Colonel Croker presents a fairly decent figure considering he's in his mid 50s, graying beard, but it's very well kept.
My freaking
Straight hair that has pretty much totally went white in the last couple of years. Maybe little hints of other color left, but not too much. But very well kept. Absolutely.
And where are my manners? Allow me to introduce my compatriots, if that's all right, sir. This is Walter Larrabee of the, I don't know, what's your newspaper? Baltimore Sun or something?
I'm from
Formerly
Baltimore.
the Baltimore
No,
Sun.
Dodge. I'm from Colonel. Maybe you read some of my work. Some of my pieces have been picked up. I'm in Coldwater, but I'm based out of Dodge. Last 3 years from Baltimore originally. I'm a writer. I'm a newspaperman.
Pleasure to meet you. Can't say that I've had much time to read anything other than military papers in the last
Of course.
Is
15 odd years.
Thank you for your
Tillingast a
hospitality.
doctor, or is he?
I'm sorry?
Is it Dr. Tillingast or just Edward Tillingast?
Just Edward.
Oh, I
This
think
is
it's
my-
just Edward. Yeah.
And this is my associate, Mr. Tillingast. He's a researcher.
And he
Actually, I should probably stop giving details about what we're doing. And
He's an academic man.
And then these are my colleagues Christopher Barnett and Vance Durango. They are quite handy out in the when one needs to follow someone.
wonderful skill to have. Perhaps
Especially,
could discuss some work in the future, depending on the stability of the Indian nation states in the
and then
coming months.
what's the other Greg's character's name?
Gustav.
Gustav.
Yeah, and Gustav. This is Gustav Graf. He's another
He
one
goes,
of
man about town.
We don't make a big show of it, but since we're in Coldwater, but obviously we're all solid Union men.
Well, that's good to hear.
Even if you're not, I'm calling you out. As you...
Well,
I retired after.
I am from
Gettysburg,
Baltimore.
so-
Yeah, most of you all are actually, relatively speaking, union leaning, we'll just say,
Barely.
which is fine.
Walter, did your family own slaves? I'm not asking you in the game.
Did my family own slaves?
A wealthy Maryland family?
Yes, two.
Maybe.
Just
Hey,
two.
anyway.
Just
Long time
two.
ago.
My father released them when he died. That and the whole, political pressure.
Little things like that. Anyway,
Political pressure. All right.
let's see. So,
I'm not sure, guys. What were we trying to? Did we plan on talking? I mean, we expected to talk to the Colonel. Is there something we were hoping to accomplish in this conversation?
I think you all had the impression that, in effect, he just wanted a first-hand account from you all as to what possibly killed some of his soldiers.
Okay.
Um,
We will. So I don't think there's any problem with us revealing the black riders that have been the black riders that have been besetting Coldwater, right?
that's an internal monologue that you have to decide upon.
Yeah. So
that was one or two reasons why I was giving you some time during the ride in that you all didn't
we didn't use.
opt
All right.
to.
Maybe we should let the professional talk.
All right. Well, Gustav's really a little awkward on this, but he'll give it a shot.
Oh, I
If only
can.
we had a wordsmith to smith our words.
Well, Colonel, it's against Walt Larrabee. Speaking with my friends. Yeah, we a lot of us got shot up, got ripped up, and there's a lot of strange things going on.
I
And-
do appreciate you taking your time. Now I see that you are some of you are still a little injured.
There was shot.
So if you require any medical help from my staff, we can keep this relatively brief. Of course, I don't want to cause you any undue pain or delay in recoveries.
Well, I mean, obviously, Dr. Trout here is taking good care of us, and of course, several of your men. And I understand there is another Dr. Mallon. You do have
Yes, that is correct. We have a doctor, and he has some trained men underneath him, some corpsmen underneath him.
Well, it has been a very long day, a very wearying day on the trail. Suffice to say that your men saved lives, and hopefully Dr. Trout helped save some of them, and there are some very strange goings on around here. And the further we travel, the more we're convinced that things are strange and getting stranger, and frankly dangerous. So your men must keep very busy with keeping everyone around safe, because
Well, we've certainly been having some peculiar issues with keeping some of our overwatch duties to the south has become increasingly difficult. I'm not sure if that has anything to do with. You said you were following two strangers. Were those the ones that attacked my men?
We don't believe so,
No.
but the strangers were riding out from Coldwater, and there was an incident there that involved several deaths, and we were more or less deputized to go after them. My colleague here, who's worse for the wear right now, Christopher Barnett, is an excellent tracker, and we were on the track and feeling like we were gaining ground on these two murderers. Let's call them what they are. These are bad men. When we were set upon by these very ferociously large wolves. And again, that's when your troop. When we were in the midst of all of that's when your troops fortunately came upon. Unfortunate for them, but fortunate for us. They so we broke off to come to the fort and report to you what's going on. And I can imagine, as I said, I'm sorry for your loss, Colonel. There's just some good men who were very brave.
Are you telling me that I've lost 5 men and 3 horses to a pack of wolves?
If you head out to the, we brought back one of the large wolves, not the largest one, the smaller one,
But
tore into us. The larger one ran off from us. Well, actually, your men opened fire on it when we were fighting it off, and it turned its attention towards them. By the time we caught up to it, that's when we ran into your troops and found out the demise of your men. We lost one man.
ourselves.
And we
And,
shot it many times.
quite a few of us were, well, as you can see, some of us were injured.
Well, indeed so. I'm sorry for your loss, of course.
It's a truly prodigious. I mean, even if you don't, I can actually pull out because I have that beautiful picture. Here's a little drawing.
True.
And I think I had a critical success on roll. So the best drawing I ever had. This is a sketch again. As a reporter, I like to make sketches. This is one of my better ones, but I don't know. It's just.
And you honestly feel that this is an accurate representation? That's
Of a picture, you'd have to see it with your eyes. But we brought back one of the smaller ones, and these were
this was
highly
no
intelligent, enormous, and incredibly aggressive wolves.
This was no normal wolf. This thing was 12 feet tall.
Okay, I was trying to rein it in, but
It was
okay.
ridiculous. And like a lot of strange things that are going on out here in the West, there's just all kinds of unnatural things happening, and that wolf is one of them, and its kin.
And the two killers we were chasing, they were, I don't know if I'd say they were unnatural, but I would say that they were unnaturally deadly, absolutely straight up murderers.
So we were doing our part to protect, at the behest of the sheriff, helping to run these guys down.
absolutely, yeah.
But we were, as we said, as Walter said, we were waylaid by these wolf things.
Now, do you feel that there's some sort of peculiar association between these wolves and these two men that you were following?
Possibly, because both we were beset twice, and both times we were really making progress on their tracks, and it just seems incredibly unlikely that they would intersect on our. We're not sure how, but it's almost like they're waiting for us. The closer we got, almost like they ambushed us. I can't prove it, Colonel, but it happened not just once, but it happened twice. And the first time was bad. The second time was really, really bad. And both times when we were gaining ground on those two men, could be a coincidence or somehow they're related. That's really as far as we got with it. Later on,
I've heard of some of the Southerners trying to do experiments on things to make their soldiers more aggressive in the field, but nothing like this.
In essence, it was almost like the men that we were chasing purposely took us through certain venues just so that we would run into bad things.
Vance, I think that's probably closer to what's really going on here.
We don't know what's going on, but yeah, that does have a good ring to it. Now that you put it that way.
Colonel,
Please go ahead.
Sorry, sir. We talked to your man, Captain Horner, and we were sort of comparing. Things around this neck of the woods have gotten much more odd of late. A lot more unnatural things happening. People getting lost on trails that you've traveled on many times before, where you just get disorientated, and because it looks like the landmarks have shifted.
Agreed. That is the reports I've been getting from many of my troops.
These are level-headed, sober men making these calls. These are not, wild drunkards or things like that. And of course, the things that we've seen with these black riders attacking the town, there's definitely a lot more, I dare say, supernatural events happening in the area, and obviously we wanted to share what we knew with you, because obviously your soldiers are here to help provide security. And
well, you're an old soldier man yourself. You know the elephant in the room, as it were, concerning things that that up until a decade ago were considered folklore, fairy tale.
Colonel, do you
And
mean the dead don't
now,
stay dead all the time?
indeed so. And the I'll use the term miraculous um, rises of knowledge and power of devices that go far beyond the keen of, again, anybody that was even advanced knowledge 15 years ago. And the rise of, well, peculiar cults and uh, people that proclaim to have um, powers beyond that which they should. And it's no secret that, you know, the Pinkertons, that, you know, once was a relatively small group of investigators from New York, you know, have now been rolled into the government and have their own entire uh, division, an entire
Agency.
department. The Southerners have done the same with the Rangers, of course. I'm sure that the Utah Free State and some of the other states have probably done something similar.
So, Colonel, are there Pinkertons in the area that are trying to address these increases that you're aware of?
I'm not at
Certainly, I
liberty
know.
to say numbers, but there are several Pinkertons currently in active service in Dodge right now.
And these latest happenings have drawn their attention, hopefully.
Oh, of that there is no doubt. Now, the Pinkertons are individually very strong people. As a group, though, they're what would be an appropriate term? Perhaps
Really?
field agents are not great in number, though. But from what I understand, they are, say, individually speaking, very capable of handling themselves in miraculous event happenings.
They're formidable adversaries to the unnatural.
Indeed so. I've even had a few nightmares about them, but and some wishes. If we could have even a core of them, I think we could end this war very quickly. But there doesn't seem to be enough to be spread around in that sort of way.
So, Colonel, what bothers you the most about what's going on around here? The fact that you're not able to provide, the adequate security with all these things running around, or you getting a lot of reports from other areas of unnatural attacks and things like that. What's your primary concern at this point?
Well, primary concern, of course, is the rail lines connecting the east to Dodge. That is the virtual raison d'etre of this camp. My growing concern has been our inability to maintain appropriate scouting and monitoring, frankly, more than a few miles south of the rail line, heading down to Oklahoma. I can't help but to think that this obfuscation of our ability to appropriately monitor, shall we say, the no man's land border between the CSA and here, if it's not being done by the CSA, it must be being done by an agent provocateur that has some sort of CSA interests, because if not, why wouldn't it be to the north or to the east or to the west? To obstruct our lines of not only communication but of reconnoiter to the south is very alarming, although I will admit that such problems do not seem to be as abound along other points of contact between the Union and the CSA's currently stabilized lines. This does seem to be a little bit more of a local affair, and I've made that known to my superiors and have been guaranteed additional troops, to which we are attempting to prepare for. However, those troops have not yet been forthcoming.
So, Colonel, do you have an officer or sergeant that is sort of assembling these anecdotal reports that we could speak to and compare notes with? I know Colonel. We did speak to Colonel Horner, and he seemed to imply that there were, that, and we'd be happy to share what we've seen as far as, what was it, Vance? Where you found a camp that had been overrun by the undead, mining camp, and there's various things that we've seen in the area that we certainly would be happy to call your attention to, just so that you're tracking on them. But we'd appreciate if you had some information that could help us avoid any danger. Would be much obliged.
The Major Emmett Wheaton has been seconded it as my information gatherer. The other major is far too busy with the infantry. So Major Clement, who is also, or sorry, Major Wheaton, who's also in charge of the cavalry detachment, up until relatively recently, has had sufficient free time to also garner information, which of course we pass on to the higher command, and when required by the higher command, we pass on to the Pinkertons.
And certainly, we wouldn't want to. We wouldn't want to. We're not interested in any secrets, but we would like. We'd like to provide you what information we can, and hopefully get a little bit of information that will steer us away from difficulties. Because we're not really sure where these Black Riders have gone to, and we're still on the hunt for them. So perhaps Major Wheaton will be able to provide some information that could get us back on their track.
The colonel finishes his small glass of port that he's been sipping on. He was not indulging in any food with you all. Not terribly surprising. He probably had supper several hours ago. He says, well, if this large wolf's corpse is as peculiar as you suggest, I do believe an early morning visit as opposed to a late night visit may be more appropriate for me, for I wish to get at least a few hours sleep before morning bugles.
Sounds good. Thank you, sir.
I will make sure that you have a pleasant place to pass on the rest of the evening,
Properly
rest of the night, and we'll speak again tomorrow morning. You are, of course, under no obligation to stay. You may leave at any point or time that you so desire. I do thank you for the information. You'd notice he had taken a couple sort of scribbly notes during the conversation. He seemed to stop taking notes once you kind of inquired as to whether there was somebody else in the fort that was sort of in charge of gathering peculiar information. So you're kind of getting up from the table with sort of the assumption that there's an implication that you would go and seek out Major Wheaton.
Sure.
And, tell him of any other peculiarities. You get the sense that by the time the information gets to the colonel, it's a lot of the details have been washed away. He's got trends. He's got enough information to, make requests for the fort. But
He's not a detail guy. He's a high-level manager. He's the
He's
commander.
a high-level manager, and
He's delegating.
although certainly concerned about the health of people around and such like that, you did notice that even in his dining room, there was a couple, not portraits per se, but frames of one or two pictures of northern built trains, and one relatively small sort of uh, although it's the full United States, the train map is only kind of the north, right? Because I guess precise train maps of the south are not available. At least, certainly, you wouldn't want to display them in residence. But he's clearly something of a train guy. Perhaps why he was assigned to this fort. And the trains are of paramount importance, to the conducting of, commerce and the conducting of war.
Are they busy pushing the train farther west? Is that?
Oh
is that
yeah,
what's going on? Okay.
that's a very, very big effort right now.
Got it.
Several companies are in competition with that. There are southern and northern lines going through Dodge, so they don't meet at a common station or anything. There's sort of a whole sort of nudge, nudge, wink, wink when trains come into southern stations and northern stations, and then certain things get offloaded and seem to hang out in a warehouse for a while. Then suddenly there's stuff for a northern train heading off somewhere. So there's probably, certainly, Walt, you were aware of a certain amount of black marketeering, as well as sort of gray market exchanges of southern and northern goods kind of managed to get onto other trains. Um, Not necessarily illegal technically, but the northern train lines probably have very, solid contracts where they cannot be on the same rails as southern lines. They cannot use the same stations. They can't use the same fuel depot or repair, facilities, blah, blah, blah. So there's kind of a weird duplication of effort going through Dodge. And then of further out west, there are yet other competing rail interests that, the Rocky Mountains are the tough part to crack, right? That the Bayou train line is actually trying to do in effect a southern route kind of across Texas, going that way. Building a train track across Nevada and such is very difficult because it's extraordinarily hot. And the mountains aren't too particularly less unforgiving south out to California, but
So Utah's a free state, right?
it's certainly been claimed by the CSA.
But the Mormons aren't running everything yet.
Well, the Mormons are running all of Utah and a little bit of the surrounding area.
Okay. Are they friendly to commerce?
Yes. Matter of fact, to dip back into the old Deadlands stuff, Hellstrom Industries is based in the Utah Free State.
It's like the Fraggle Rock. I mean, the Ghost Rock Nerdtopia.
Yeah, they're like sort of the super mass production evil scientist wackadoodle invention equipment people. I don't want to say Sears and Roebuck, but it's a play off of Sears and Roebuck, a somewhat smaller company that isn't directly, at least, connected to Hellstrom. They sell a lot more. They've sold the new fancy telegraph systems and other um, um, new inventions that are penetrating more of the common man. Hellstrom, you kind of can think of as the Apple products, and the Sears and Roebucks or whatever. They are more of the Android of the new tech. A little less glitzy, but serviceable in general. But a little more widespread too.
Got it.
So that's kind of the state there. So you are sort of politely kind of ushered out. It's clear that the colonel has gotten evidently what he needs to know. You do walk as you walk kind of through the living room to the sort of foyer and boot room before you leave. You do notice a fairly large portrait of a very beautiful woman, and at least Vance,
Let me guess, it's titled Sadie.
you do recognize this woman from right after the battle with the weird little dirt people that were pulled up from the Six Guns. That carriage came through.
Yep.
This would be the same woman that was in the passenger side of that carriage.
Ah,
Oh, the plot thickens.
But you
I'll
know
mark
that
that to everyone when we leave.
but you do know that the man in that carriage was not the colonel.
No, it was not.
It's Montclair.
You seem to remember it as being the head of the bar ranch.
Yeah.
But you recall Al told you, no, you're mistaken. That was the guy you described the person. Al
Mhm.
didn't necessarily know who it was, but said, no, that doesn't sound like the in Al's words, the cult leader of the bar ranch.
Interesting. By the way, did I check my pocket? Did I ever get a note back?
Let's see.
I mean, I smoked.
You did smoke it. Some time has now
Yeah, because we probably talked
passed by. That's true.
And also, as a note, we're coming up on 9.
Yeah. Indeed, you find a envelope while you're digging around in your inside pocket right there, addressed identically the same in an identically the same envelope. Upon opening it up, you have that.
Okay. Looks like our items are at my room in Dodge. Whenever we want to get them. By the way, Doctor, I said you'd assure payment. I mean, I'll just point out that none of these items are for me. So, because you
No,
have a good
indeed, one's for Vance and one's for Chris.
exactly. But I just want to point out that I took the liberty, but it wasn't on my behest. Something about your immortal soul and payment.
So Vance, yeah. So that's who you notice in the portrait, and Corporal Bird, now looking very tired. You don't get the feeling that he's had much of a chance to sit down since arriving back. So he's looking pretty beat. But he shows you to a place to hang your hat. Oh, I assume you retrieve your jackets and such. They've been brushed very nicely. It's just kind of, you know, not quite steamed or anything, but you know, the best a butler can do while for the 20 minutes that you were with the colonel. And you're brought to a fairly nice billet. You can hear other soldiers kind of snoring further in the barracks, but there's been a sort of a canvas break between where you all are at and where the rest of the soldiers are at. Edward kind of starts, not getting into bed clothes, but whatever. And he kind of goes, "Huh. I wonder if these are the beds of the guys who died."
That's a cheery thought.
I hate